Aircraft carriers are the largest and most powerful military machines ever created by human beings. It is estimated that only 50 units exist worldwide, and that the cost of manufacturing one can exceed $10 billion. But have you ever wondered how they are actually manufactured? How is it possible that a colossus of more than 100,000 tons of steel is capable of sailing, transporting hundreds of fighter jets, tons of weaponry, and functioning as an authentic military base without sinking? Well, today we will travel directly to the United States, home to the most gigantic military shipyard on the planet. A place where thousands of engineers and specialized technicians work tirelessly for years to give shape to one of the most imposing and colossal machines in existence. So get ready, because today we are going to discover how aircraft carriers are mass-produced. We begin. Step 1. Extreme design and planning. Designing an aircraft carrier is one of the greatest challenges in all of modern industry. We are not talking about building a ship. We are talking about designing a floating city, a machine that can exceed 300 meters in length, weigh more than 100,000 tons, and operate continuously for decades in any ocean on the planet. It all starts with pure engineering. To give shape to a single aircraft carrier, thousands of naval engineers, military personnel, and system specialists work in a coordinated manner for years. Their mission is absolute: to define every centimeter of the vessel, from its exact size and weight to its aerial capacity, its defensive weaponry, and how it will react to the worst imaginable scenario. Everything is designed first in state-of-the-art digital systems. Three-dimensional models recreate the complete ship, from the outer hull to the last internal cable. But here it is not only given shape. Absolutely all the extreme conditions it will endure in the ocean are also simulated. If something fails in the simulation, it is redesigned, because in the real sea there is no margin for error. And here comes a key fact that very few know. An aircraft carrier is not built as a single structure. From the design phase, the ship is divided into huge modular sections, some as large as multi-story buildings, complete blocks that will later be joined in the shipyard like a gigantic steel puzzle. Only when all the plans are finished, verified, and approved by military commands does something decisive happen. The start of real construction is authorized, and now, the truly brutal part begins. Step 2. Production of steel in giant parts. With the design approved, the aircraft carrier ceases to be a digital plan and begins to become a real steel beast. Everything starts with the manufacturing of a special material, high-resistance naval steel, a material designed exclusively for this type of vessel, capable of withstanding explosions, direct impacts, decades of extreme use on the high seas, and continuing to fulfill its function without failing. This steel is produced in huge, specialized steel plants, where its composition is controlled to the millimeter. It must be rigid enough to resist attacks, but also flexible enough not to fracture when the ship twists under giant ocean swells and storms. When the steel is ready, it arrives at the shipyard in the form of colossal plates, some as large as a basketball court and with a weight that exceeds that of a full main battle tank. And here, the industrial spectacle begins. Powerful automated cutting systems spring into action. These steel masses are divided into perfectly calculated pieces, following digital plans to the millimeter. After this comes heavy welding. Giant robotic arms and highly specialized human teams fuse these pieces together to form colossal blocks of the aircraft carrier. When all the parts are finished, they remain aligned in the shipyard. They are not joined yet, but they already have the exact shape of the colossus that is about to be born. And it is exactly at this point when the most brutal machinery of the shipyard enters the scene. Step 3. Hull assembly. This is where the aircraft carrier begins to truly exist. The huge steel blocks manufactured in the previous step, each weighing hundreds of tons, are moved to the shipyard's dry dock. In front of them rise colossal cranes, some of the largest ever built, capable of lifting pieces heavier than a full commercial airplane. The process is slow, precise, and brutal. The cranes lift the giant modules and place them millimeter by millimeter onto the main structure. Block after block, the hull closes up until it begins to show the unmistakable silhouette of the aircraft carrier. But placing them is not enough. Here enters one of the most critical jobs of the entire process: structural welds. Highly specialized human teams, along with huge heavy welding robots, work without rest. Each joint is reinforced with multiple layers, checked, tested, and reinforced again. Everything is designed so that the hull remains as a single solid piece, even though it is formed by hundreds of different blocks. And here comes something that many wonder when they see it for the first time. How is it possible that something so heavy does not sink? The answer is surprisingly simple. The hull is not a solid mass of steel. It is a gigantic hollow structure, full of watertight compartments that trap air. All that air acts as a float, not allowing a mass of more than 100,000 tons to float without problem. While the exterior takes shape, the interior of the ship also begins to be organized. Internal decks, corridors, technical rooms, and huge spaces destined for the storage of fuel, ammunition, and heavy machinery are created. Little by little, the assembly stops looking like an industrial worksite and starts to look like a huge real ship, but still completely useless. Step 4. Internal systems and propulsion. With the hull already assembled, the aircraft carrier is still little more than a gigantic steel shell. Now comes the decisive moment, the instant in which it comes to life. Here, its heart and also its nervous system are installed. The first big step is propulsion. Depending on the design, the aircraft carrier can operate with huge conventional engine systems or with nuclear energy. In nuclear models, we are talking about reactors capable of generating so much energy that the ship can sail for decades without refueling a single time. These reactors or engines are not placed randomly. They are installed in the deepest areas of the hull, in the exact center of the ship, surrounded by massive layers of steel and reinforced safety compartments. From there, the energy is transmitted to gigantic turbines, which convert that power into real movement. From that moment on, the aircraft carrier begins to fill up from the inside out. Miles and miles of pipes and electrical wiring run through the entire interior of the ship, transporting energy, water, and vital systems to every corner of the vessel. Each cable is identified, protected, and duplicated. If one fails, another enters into action instantly. The aircraft carrier is designed to never turn off. When this step ends, the change is total. The aircraft carrier is no longer just steel. Now it pulses, generates energy, and distributes life through each of its decks. Step 5. Flight deck and elevators. Here the aircraft carrier stops being just a ship and transforms into an authentic floating airport. On top of the steel hull, the flight deck is built, one of the most resistant surfaces on the planet. And no, it is not a simple metal plate. It is formed by multiple layers of special steel and materials that withstand extreme heat, designed to endure brutal impacts time and time again without deforming. Huge cranes place each section with millimetric precision, fixing them onto the structure to perfection. Every landing is a trial by fire. A fighter jet arrives at very high speed, hits the deck with dozens of tons of force, slams to a halt, and takes off again minutes later. And the deck has to withstand it thousands of times without margin for error. Once the runway is ready, the most spectacular systems arrive. First, the catapults. Authentic mechanical monsters capable of launching a combat aircraft from zero to takeoff speed in just a few seconds. Then the arresting cables come into play. Thick steel lines designed to stop a fighter that lands at more than 200 kilometers per hour in less than 100 meters. If a cable fails, the plane cannot brake, and that would mean disaster. On both sides of the deck, giant elevators appear. Colossal platforms capable of lifting complete planes from the internal hangars to the runway in a matter of seconds. Literally, their function is that of an elevator, but at a colossal size and for airplanes. Having reached this point, the change is brutal. On top of the steel hull, there now literally exists a small airport, a space where some of the most advanced combat machines on the planet will take off and land. Step 6. Weaponry, radars, and military technology. The time has come to equip the Colossus, because an aircraft carrier is not just a floating runway, it is a water fortress armed to the teeth. The first thing installed is its defensive shield. On the structure, cannons, missiles, automatic turrets, and anti-aircraft systems designed for a single mission begin to appear. That no one gets close. And here is what is really important. Nothing is placed randomly. The aircraft carrier protects itself in layers, as if it were a steel onion. Long-range defense for threats at a great distance, medium defense for what manages to get close, and final defense to stop whatever reaches the limit. If one layer fails, the next enters into action automatically, without human intervention. But the true power doesn't start by firing. It starts by seeing before anyone else. At the highest part of the ship, the main radars are installed. Authentic electronic eyes capable of monitoring hundreds of kilometers around, both in the air and on the surface of the sea. Airplanes, ships, missiles, drones. Everything is recorded. When this step ends, the change is finally definitive. The vessel is no longer just steel, planes, and engines. Now it is an armed and complete aircraft carrier, ready to face the last step of the process. Step 7. Testing, launching, and commissioning. After years of work, millions of parts, and thousands of hours of engineering, the most anticipated moment of the entire process arrives. The instant in which the aircraft carrier leaves the shipyard and touches the sea for the first time. Thousands of tons of steel slide into the water, and in a matter of seconds, the essential is confirmed. That floating city floats exactly as it was designed. But this is only the beginning. Once in the sea, the aircraft carrier enters a brutal phase of real testing. It sails at different speeds, performs extreme maneuvers, and faces the open swells as if it were already on a combat mission. Everything is pushed to the limit. Then its heart is tested. The propulsion systems operate at maximum power for days and weeks straight. There are no simulations here. If something fails, it is corrected and tested again. And then the most critical moment of all arrives: the aerial tests. For the first time, fighter jets take off from the deck and land on it. Each launch and each landing discharges tons of force onto the vessel. The catapults, the arresting cables, the runway are tested, and above all, the human coordination. Only when it passes absolutely all these tests does the final step occur: the official commissioning. The aircraft carrier is delivered to the Navy, integrated into a real fleet, and goes from being an industrial project to becoming one of the most powerful strategic weapons on the planet. To finish, tell us, did you imagine all this process? Would you like to work on one of these giant floating cities? Leave us your answer in the comments, and if you like this tour through the factory, don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next industrial journey.